You see why I had no problem with her being Times Athlete of the Year? You see why I said that she should have been on Team USA? You see why I had to go off on the likes of Cheryl Swoops and others who were clearly distant and dismissive of her, no matter how much they try to deny it? There was resentment towards her, and here's why I said it was stupid.
The internet is ablaze, and Caitlin Clark is once more in the spotlight.
This footage, just figure out what these girls is doing is pissing you off so much when you ain't focused. Focus. She went back, refocused. That's why I love their whole
What began as a straightforward gesture of solidarity for a wounded opponent has descended into yet another social media feud, with keyboard warriors and WNBA fan haters scrutinizing every word Clark said.
There's Russell, 10 on the shot clock, and on the switch. Tied it up, took it over the Trojans, and Watkins goes knee, quickly grimacing in pain.
JuJu Watkins, the USC phenom who sustained a severe injury during March Madness, is now at the center of this debate, but not because she chose to be. Rather, her name is being used against Caitlin Clark in a ridiculous dispute that is difficult to believe is genuine.
Playing basketball already. For the simple fact is she can pass.
However, the same toxic cycle is being witnessed here as Clark spreads kindness and the internet turns it into something horrible. The pushback was immediate, vicious, and completely predictable. I'm sending all my thoughts and prayers to JuJu Kid, who will return stronger than ever, because Clark's tweet, which was only 15 words long and included a heart emoji, somehow turned into a battlefield for the same old cultural fights that follow her everywhere.
A lot of players in the country playing Division I basketball. Nobody scored more points in one game this year than you. That's the most.
That's crazy. Yeah. More to come for sure.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark who?
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that. Much respect there.
No condescension, no malice, just one athlete wishing someone else a good day. But in the twisted world of WNBA Twitter, that was enough to start a firestorm. Critics claimed that Clark's use of the word kid was disrespectful, dismissive, even racially charged, and that the fan base was so determined to hate Caitlin Clark that they would turn even her kindness into a crime. While the outrage mob yells, JuJu Watkins, the injured player hasn't said a word. So who exactly is this performative anger? If you're sick of the nonsense, hit the like button, share this with someone who needs to see it, subscribe for the unadulterated truth, and let's dive in.
Rossi misses her first look from the perimeter to Boston. Back in, and it's Boston the finish.
The initial tweet that sparked everything. Following JuJu, Caitlin Clark did what any honorable rival would do and gave love to an injured opponent. During USC's March Madness game, Watkins suffered a terrifying injury. Clark used X, formerly Twitter, to provide support.
Assist per game, best assist in her career last season. Clark gets away with a little push, and a little reaction. Wow.
She sent a brief, heartfelt statement that was precisely what you would expect from a sportsmanlike celebrity. There was no grandstanding or ulterior motive. She just said, "I'm sending all my thoughts and prayers to JuJu Kid. He'll come back stronger than ever." A red heart emoji completed the message.
Clark, Hass is going to let it fly. Caitlin.
In a normal world, this would have been the conclusion of the tale, but Caitlin Clark lacks sanity, and the trolls show up minutes later.
What is her style? Just threes?
Wow.
What is her style?
Not to express gratitude to Clark for her sportsmanship or to wish JuJu well, but to analyze her word choice as though it were a federal case. The indignation was focused on a single detail. Clark called Watkins kid. That was the crime. Never mind that the term kid is used universally in sports by coaches, teammates, and legends alike. Suddenly, it was evidence of Clark's alleged haughtiness, disrespect, and privilege. The gold post moved at warp speed, and the pylon started the irony. No one would have blinked if JuJu Watkins had called Clark kid. In fact, if another player had tweeted the exact same thing, there wouldn't be a story.
Congratulations on a heck of a performance. So much on the line in this rivalry game. What was the mindset you guys brought into this game that allowed you to be successful?
I think teamwork. Everybody scored. Everybody made a positive effect on the game.
However, every word Caitlin Clark says is viewed as scandalous because she is the one who dared to introduce women's basketball to millions of new followers. There is no greater example of the double standard. Caitlin is being punished, not protected. The internet anger engine went into overdrive, the frantic pushback exploded, and the takes quickly became furious. One critic hissed, "Kid, you're only 3 years older than her. Check your ego." Another person of color said, "Being called kid by a white girl feels demeaning."
Words of inspiration from WNBA phenom Caitlin Clark.
Fox 56
Turned out at the University of the Cumberlands last night to hear words of inspiration from WNBA phenom Caitlin Clark.
Fox 56 reporter Dejiana Wilson has more on how Clark's appearance was part of this year's Excellence in Leadership series.
The event drew hundreds of Kentuckians to watch.
Despite the fact that Watkins and Clark have never had a public argument or that she has never expressed offense, the accusation spread that Clark was condescending, patronizing, and even racist all over a word that LeBron James, Steph Curry, and every coach in America use on a daily basis. The performative anger reached parody levels, with some claiming that Clark was attempting to position herself as the wise veteran despite being only 22, and others insisting that she should have remained silent, ignoring the fact that she would have been shredded for that as well.
Hamby had a clear out.
Ducks in fact, Bentley stays with her, blocked from behind. Now Clark looking to push, cross-court pass to Clark. She will launch and bury a three.
The hypocrisy was astounding. These are the same individuals who insist that women's sports receive greater attention until Clark, the game's biggest star, provides it, at which point her every action becomes an issue for me. While Twitter warriors feigned to defend JuJu Watkins' honor, the real victim was lost in the midst of the confusion, and no one inquired about her feelings or made any statements. No subtweets, no sign that she was concerned.
They play as well, but here is a huge again. They play so well in transition.
Because she wasn't, the most repulsive aspect of all was that this was never about JuJu, but rather about using her injury as a weapon against Clark.
Winning is what's going to make people upset, so just win. Like, that's simply how I view it.
The gloomy truth that lies underneath hatred. Let's be honest. Caitlin Clark, the small-town Iowa girl who broke records, brought ESPN its highest ratings in decades and made the WNBA relevant to people who had never watched before, as well as to an unforgivable segment of the old guard, is the subject of this backlash, which isn't about a tweet.
I'm going to give a magazine to Beyonce, one to Blue Ivy, and one to Jay-Z.
Want their isolated community to return, even if it means destroying the very star who is keeping the sport alive. They don't want new fans. They don't want change.
Who taught you to dribble? Because you started when you were 5 years old.
Honestly, I probably kind of taught myself, but like I always wanted to be like my older brother, and I learned to ride my bike at maybe like 3 years old without training wheels, maybe 4 years old, but that was only because my older brother learned that day, and I was like, Mom, Dad, take mine off right now, I'm learning.
Wow. Yeah.
And I did. So.
But that encapsulates what I know.
The posts made of gold keep moving at all times. When the clerk takes over, she's stealing the show. When she shares the ball, she lacks assertiveness. When she remains silent, she's not a leader. And now, when she backs a rival, she's being condescending.
I know you said you don't feel like a celebrity, but you lived in that spotlight really for the last year. What can you kind of describe what that feels like for you, since we can't experience that? And then also, what do you kind of expect the next several months quietly?
Is not a version of Caitlin Clark that they will tolerate, because their problem is not with her behavior but rather with her existence. And while race and sexual orientation do play a part, let's not act as though they don't. Clark is a white, straight Midwestern phenomenon in a league where many devoted fans strongly identify with Black and LGBT+ culture.
After a storybook college career filled with record-breaking moments and legions of new fans, NCAA superstar Caitlin Clark is ready to take her game.
No matter how much she loves the game, her success feels like an invasion to others. This isn't Clark's fault, but it's her reality, and the drama won't stop until the WNBA addresses this toxicity. The deal standard that reveals the agenda.
What is that feeling like, knowing that you're the face of women's college basketball here?
That's a big title. I wouldn't say that. I think that it's just, I wouldn't be considered the person I am without my competition. I mean, the comp is everything. The conferences, the great teams, that's really what matters.
Imagine if the roles had been reversed. What would have happened if Caitlin Clark-Child, or any other WNBA rookie, had dubbed her kid in a supporting tweet? No criticism, no indignation, and no charges of contempt.
At some point in time, you're going to have to get JuJu involved.
Got to.
And JuJu is finding out what it's like to be the number one, the guy that everybody builds their defense to try and stop.
Right. I think he'll adjust because JuJu's a great kid. His spirit is right.
Right.
And by the way, you helped raise him as a football player.
Definitely, with credit to his mother and his family and the great.
Actually, it probably would have been hailed as sisterhood in sports or veteran leadership, but because it's Caitlin Clark, the rules change. The same people who advocate for women's sports suddenly turn into grammar police, analyzing her language as if it were a congressional hearing with an open agenda. Remember when Diana Taurasi quipped that rookies like Clark would get a reality check in the WNBA? The media presented it as competitive fire, but when Clark makes an innocent remark, it's arrogance. This isn't conjecture. It's historical evidence that Clark must be villainized at all costs.
Caitlin brought so much new attention to the rise in women's college basketball and the WNBA and women's sports in general.
Great player, good person as well. She's been great, and I'm really excited for her at this next stage in her career.
Caitlin Clark becomes the all-time leading scorer in major college basketball.